Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for another AC Milan news live stream. Today marks the first day of the winter transfer window in the Serie A. So let's get started with today's news and rumors. Now today I'll be speaking about Alejandro Papu Gomez from Atalanta, Jese from PSG, Vangioni of course, and his possible move towards Sevilla, and finally some updates regarding Deulofeu from Everton. Now speaking about Alejandro Papu Gomez, first of all I wanted to mention that it seems to be that Milan's primary interest this transfer window is to sign a winger. There haven't really been many reports concerning any other positions rather than the wingers at Milan. There haven't really been any concrete or real negotiations even initiated for the midfield, and it seems to be that that is the one department in which we need to invest in this transfer window. But of course, with no funds, it seems to be quite impossible. But speaking about Papu Gomez, Milan were originally interested in the player back in the summer. It's been quite a player that Milan has been interested in for a while actually. It's not the first time that we hear about his name being linked to Milan. But Milan is interested once again in this winter transfer window to sign the 28-year-old winger, and there are also other teams that are currently interested in him, such as Roma in the Serie A and other Chinese clubs. So right now it doesn't seem that Alejandro Papu Gomez could arrive to Milan on a transfer. That of course depends on a lot of things, and one of the major things is that if we do manage to sell a big player at Milan, maybe Bacca or Niang, a player that could generate some transfer funds for us, then yes, we might move towards signing Alejandro Papu Gomez from Atalanta. But he is their captain, and if we don't have the money for it, I really much doubt that we will be able to get him on loan, even with an option to buy or obligation to buy. I specifically don't think that Atalanta will be interested in giving him away that cheaply at the moment. Also because he does have a contract until 2020, so I really don't see the major interest from Atalanta to give him out on loan at this point in the season. He is doing very good for them. He's scoring lots of goals. 3 goals, 6 assists in 18 appearances for Atalanta in the Serie A this season. So like I said, it's either Milan do sign him with some money, or I don't think a loan option is quite doable for Papu Gomez. Like I said, we will need to sell someone that could generate us some funds. And at the same time, you know, he's an interesting player, knows the Serie A, knows how it works. He's been doing great things for Atalanta. But I just don't know if he's going to be a realistic, durable, real option for Milan in the long run. Now moving on, another player that I wanted to speak about, also a winger, is PSG's Jese. And you know, this player hasn't been getting much playing time at PSG this season. He moved from Real Madrid last summer for 25 million euros, but he really hasn't been getting any playing time at PSG, and it's a real shame because in my eyes he's a good player, you know, a player that has shown good things, still quite young. I believe he's 23 years of age, and he could definitely be influential to any team that he joins. But Unai Emery, the PSG coach, mentioned it himself. A player like Jese needs to get playing time, and he's currently not getting that at PSG, and he did mention that there's a high possibility that he could leave PSG this winter to join another club. Now, Roma is also a club that is interested in this player, and you know, once again, I'm not quite sure if we could be able to get this player on loan, even with an option to buy or so forth. I think the same scenario does apply to what I mentioned regarding Papu Gomez. If we would have to sell someone such as maybe Bacca or Niang, someone that could at least generate some transfer money for us to play around with in this winter, then Jese or Papu Gomez could be a possibility. Now, looking at the comparison between the two players, Like I said before, Papu Gomez definitely the more experience in the Serie A, but Jese, a guy that has been playing in Real Madrid, PSG, top clubs around the world, and he's been doing well. We will have to see which one would be the better option for us. Once again, Jese, 23 years old, Papu Gomez, 28. When you're looking at the age difference, definitely Jese looks like the more reliable option that could be at the club for the long run. He already has experience in tournaments such as European competitions, the Champions League, and so forth. So I think it would be a better option for us altogether. But we'll see what happens in terms of the transfer window. Once again, not really realistic options coming into this transfer window. Maybe something we could work on in the summer. But at the moment, it seems to be that Milan, all they could do is really sign players on loan with the option to buy, or maybe dry loans like Deulofeu, but I'll be speaking about him in just a short while. Now moving on, I did want to mention something about Vangioni because Sevilla is a team that's currently interested in the player. Vangioni hasn't been getting much playing time at Milan. Actually, he hasn't been getting playing time at all, and I remember before the season even started, his agent did say that he's a player that Milan fans will fall in love with for his dedication, his work ethic that he usually has with the club, or any clubs that he joins for that case. But, he just hasn't been given the opportunity to showcase his talent this season. And like I said yesterday, much like Rodrigo Eli, Vangioni could be on his way out. And Sevilla are currently in talks with Milan to sign the left back in this month, and Vangioni is actually interested in joining them as well. Apparently the negotiations are going quite well, so we'll see what develops with the player, but definitely he's one of the hot names to leave Milan in this particular transfer window. Finally, I did want to give you guys some updates concerning Deulofeu because Milan have made a new proposal, a new offer to Everton, and they want to sign Deulofeu on loan with the option to buy. Now, initially, you guys might recall that Milan wanted a dry loan, which once again, that means that Milan were interested in signing him on loan until the end of the season with no option to buy. So at the end of the season, he will return to Everton and that will be the end of the story. Now, Milan are currently thinking of possibly signing him on a loan with the option to buy. So at the end of the season, they will have the option of choosing either to buy him or not. And they're currently awaiting for Everton's response. Everton has said that they're looking for a replacement for Deulofeu before they decide and choose if they want to sell him or not, or even give him on loan for that option. So we still have to wait to see what Everton thinks about all of this. One thing is for sure, Milan is looking for a winger. Like I said at the beginning of the video, that seems to be the area in which the main focus is in terms of signing players. Wingers, it seems that Milan wants to find backups to the already established players in the wings that we currently have at Milan, such as Suso, Bonaventura, and so forth. They want to at least get some decent backups or even some starters that could create some competition for these players. And by all means, I like the names that we're going after. I think they're all pretty reliable options, but at the same time, I was hoping that we could also generate some interest for some names in the midfield, because I believe that that is one area in which we need to focus on as well. It's nice to see Locatelli getting the starts in that Egista position, but some comments that I heard today with various news sources saying that if we don't get another Egista, then Bertolacci is a name that could be Locatelli's alternative player. I just don't buy that idea. I still think that we need some solid backup for Locatelli. Bertolacci doesn't give us all the certainties that we need at this point in the season, and we all know that's going to be a very hard second half of the season. Very big games do await us, and now there's also the Coppa Italia in the midweeks. We're gonna have a lot of more midweek fixtures, so definitely we're gonna have to do some rotations, that is for sure. But these are the latest updates considering the players, what we're currently interested in. This is what we know so far. So guys, as usual, let me know in the comment section what you guys think about all of these news, Any comments you guys have on any of the names I mentioned today, let me know as well. I'll be reading your comments and questions for the next few minutes. So getting right into your comments, guys. Frank Antelope says, Gio, do you agree with me that Milan should stay away from Fernando Gago? Also, should Milan do a loan swap with Genoa with an elite for Laxalt exchange? Thank you for the question, Frank. First of all, I'm going to address the first part there regarding Fernando Gago. He's 30 years old. I don't think that he's really an option for Milan that we should go for. Like I said, there are better players out there that we could potentially go for. I don't think that he will arrive this winter mercato, and I don't think he will arrive in general. So it is, a player that I really wouldn't see at Milan. 30 years old, not a very high opener option for Milan, not very reliable as well. But at the end of the day, if Milan is that desperate, they might just go for him. Now, for the second part of your question there, where you suggested a loan exchange between Rodrigo and Lee and Laxalt from Genoa, I actually did mention yesterday, as several sources were mentioning as well, a possible loan swap between Rodrigo Eli and Vangioni for Genoa's Laxalt. Now, Laxalt is a very good player. I like how he plays. He's a very good option for Genoa. He always works hard, gets what he needs to do, always gets it done. So I think it will be a good option if we do work some loan deals with Genoa regarding Laxalt. But at the same time, there is interest from Sevilla for Vangioni. So we'll have to see where he really ends up. I don't think Rodrigo Eli for Laxalt would be a reliable transfer in terms of loan, but anything is possible. We all know that Milan and Genoa always work hard towards these possible loan swaps or transfers. Really, like I said yesterday, there's no transfer window that we don't hear of a possible exchange for whatever reasons, even if it is a permanent deal or a loan swap. Considering Milan and Genoa, there's always something going on with these two clubs. So there is a possibility that something might develop between the two teams and these players that you mentioned there. Now, Reft Butler says, Gio, rank in order of preference, Keita, Deulofeu, Jese, Papu Gomez, and Laxalt. I would definitely like Keita first, maybe Jese second, Papu Gomez third, or I don't know, I'm kind of undecided between Deulofeu and Papu Gomez there. Probably Deulofeu third, Papu Gomez fourth, and maybe Laxalt fifth. But definitely, these are names that could potentially arrive in the summer. For example, Keita and Jese. I will probably see these types of players more as reliable options for the summer when we actually have money to spend. At the same time, it's either we get them now or there's a possibility, a risk that they might go to another club. For example, Jese. There's definitely a possibility that he could join another club. Roma is also after certain players that we are interested in, such as Papu Gomez and Jese. So if they do move faster than we do, there is a possibility that they might join their club instead of ours. Geek 101 says, I think we should loan Honda to a smaller club. He's proven himself for other teams in the past, and it's a shame he hasn't been able to replicate his form. I think he could still improve himself. Honda faces a lot of competition at Milan at the moment, and when you have a player like Suso being so good for Milan, it's kind of hard to see Honda replace him at any point on that right wing. He's not getting much playing time, and personally I think that he's a decent player, Honda. I'm not having anything against him, but he simply doesn't fit in a team like Milan at the moment. There are other teams that you could definitely fit on and get playing time, a lot more playing time, and showcase what he's got. And let me tell you, he does have talent, because every time I see him play for Japan, he kind of he's a different player. He's a player that is capable of doing good things for his team. No doubt about that. But if he doesn't get the consistency that he deserves at Milan, or doesn't deserve for that matter, he's just not capable of indulging really in that particular form that we know of when he plays with Japan. So we're gonna have to see what happens with him. But the latest real talks about Honda is that he might join an MLS club. And that might be a perfect place for him to get that playing time, a perfect place for him to still get a lot of action and prove to the Japanese national team that he still deserves to play there. Not like I really would put his place in jeopardy, but at the same time, he does want to play. Maybe an option of him moving away from Italy could be the best option for him. Who knows? If that's what he wants, then that's what he might get. Moving on, I think the deal for Keita is done, says DJ Ram Air. No, it is not. Many people are actually saying that it might be a done deal. I'm sure you guys read a lot of reports, but like I mentioned yesterday, the agent of Keita actually dismissed all of these talks regarding a done deal to Milan. He says that the negotiations haven't even started or by that point. So yes, there might be an interest, but there are no negotiations currently going on for Keita. This is what his agent said. Serial Killer says, why hasn't Vangioni been given the chance? It's not like Deulofeu has been amazing. Well, Deulofeu has been playing a lot of games, and at the same time, Antonelli, when he wasn't injured, he was replacing Deulofeu. So I really don't see why Vangioni would get a start over Deulofeu. Sure, he hasn't been amazing. He's been quite decent, though. It's not like he's been really messing up game after game. And to me, like, I always ranked Antonelli even better than Deulofeu. But yes, he's been injured for quite a big part of the season. But now that he's back, Antonelli and Deulofeu are definitely those two names that you will look at for the left back position. I wouldn't even put Vangioni in front of any of those two. Clayton says, Gio, would like to thank you for giving your time to discuss with us about everything on AC Milan. We appreciate it a lot. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on every day and watching my streams, so thank you for that. Moving on with Jimmy, says we still have a good team. I think we need first a regista and a winger. Like I said, Milan is really emphasizing on the wingers. They really want to get one at all costs, and it really doesn't. For some reason, we're not really interested in any midfielder players at the moment. There may be some names, but it's really not any options that we're really after. There's really no negotiations currently going on between Milan and any midfielders. For some reason, the priority seems to be wingers, guys, and that is exactly what we might get this transfer window. Moving on, Aniket says, Gio, if Jack moves to the left wing, who should we play in his place? Pasalic or Bertolacci? Both very good at that position. Jose Sosa for now can just be a mentor to these guys. Now, Jack has actually been playing quite a bit on that left wing when he was replacing Niang. And yes, Pasalic and Bertolacci are both decent options for that left mid. At the moment, I think, why not give the chance to Pasalic? He's been doing quite well every time he was given the chance. He's young, he's shown that he's really proved to show that he's capable of doing very good things. But at the same time, Bonaventura is still very important. We still have a player that is capable of playing as a winger, as a midfielder. Really, he dictates any position that he plays on the left side. So, there might be some exchanges sometimes, but if Niang is not performing well, Bonaventura could replace Niang, and we could still have a guy like Pasalic that's still pretty decent in my opinion. If you still want to fortify that midfield, sure, you could throw in Bonaventura, and that is where I could see another option for that winger to come in to replace Niang. That's why I said that it seems like Milan might want to fund this transfer market by selling either Niang or Bacca in order to sign a winger, but all remains to be seen. Martin Villa says Milan refused the offer of Man City, 2 million for Plizzari. Yes, I did read that as well. I'm really happy that Milan did refuse that offer. These guys just come in and think that they could buy anyone for 2 million just because they're young. Plizzari, this guy is the future. He's one of the very best goalkeepers in Italy at his age. This guy is the next Donnarumma. If you guys haven't seen him yet, he's amazing. And I'm really happy that Milan didn't just let him go for 2 million. To Man City. Sure, he needs playing time as well, but he's still very young. I think Milan can still develop him, and one day he might be that real important backup to Donnarumma. If Donnarumma and Plizzari could both be Milan's fortress in the back in terms of goalkeepers, then I'm sure we'll go very, very far in competitions, especially when we need to rotate goalkeepers, when we're playing 2-3 times a week. This is very interesting. Moving on, any updates on Simeone? No, there are no new updates concerning Simeone today. I did say a bit about him yesterday. He's an interesting option, but if it happens, it's going to be in the summer. Genoa also signed Simeone this year. They signed him in the summer, this past summer, and he's been doing really good for them. So I really don't see why they would want to sell Simeone at this point in the season. Jamie says, do you like Pasalic and do you think we should sign him permanently in the summer? Yes, I do like Pasalic. Still quite early to say if he's going to be one of those players that Milan should definitely sign in the summer. Yes, he's good, but if we do get some better options in the midfield once the money arrives, then, you know, he might be demoted to the bench. He might just be a backup to one of these options that's going to be starting every game next season. So definitely, yes, he could be a very good signing. Will he be getting a lot of playing time if we do make the appropriate signings in the summer? Maybe not. So we're going to have to see exactly how he plays in the second half of the season and take it from there, in my opinion. Now, moving on, Mohammed says we should get any winger because Niang is shit. I have a cousin that definitely plays better than Niang. I can contact him for Milan to replace Niang. Geek 101 says, I saw we were linked with Zaza. I remember looking, just lost your comment for a sec. I remember looking out my window. I thought I saw a shooting star. Instead, I realized it was Zaza's penalty shot still rising. Yes, Zaza's been a name that we were actually linked with even last summer, if you guys recall. But I don't think anything concrete regarding Zaza to Milan will really happen. Moving on with some more questions before I sign off. How much would you take for Plizzari? Simply, I wouldn't sell him at the moment. I don't think that Plizzari should be sold. Like I said, he's a very good goalkeeper. Milan could have the future of the goalkeepers in their hands with Donnarumma and Plizzari. And if these guys alternate between them, like if Plizzari could start playing Coppa Italia games in a season or two, and Donnarumma will get the European games, the Serie A games, and so forth, then I think we'll have always a very reliable option in net. Moving on, Aniket says, Gio, should Montella try a 4-3-1-2 with Bacca and Lapadula with Suso the playmaker against smaller teams? I've already read this question quite a few times now, especially considering the 4-3-1-2 with Suso being that playmaker, the trequartista really behind Bacca and Lapadula. I think it could be an option for Milan, but I don't see why Milan should really change to 4-3-1-2. The 4-3-3 is working well. I like how the wingers are working, and I don't think Bacca and Lapadula could really cope well together. I think it's an experiment that Milan could try, definitely, but at this point, you know, I really wouldn't be taking any gambles because the 4-3-3 is working well. We're getting the results that we need. I don't see why we should be going to change it, why we should be considering to change the formation. So, you know, at the same time, yes, it could be a good solution, but I just don't see the motive as to why we should be changing it at this point of the season. Andy says Niang is a good and young player. If he improves a lot, he can become world class. He definitely has the potential, don't get me wrong. I know he's capable of doing great things. It's really his mindset. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. He's not capable of keeping that consistency with his mindset. And I think that really separates Niang from becoming a normal player and a very good one. Jamie says, should we start Bacca against Cagliari? I think Bacca will be getting the start against Cagliari. Don't want to be speaking too much about it right now because there will be a preview prior to that match. But, you know, yes, definitely Bacca could get a start against Cagliari. Like many of you probably read already, Montella wants to revive Niang and Bacca in the second half of the season. He understands the importance of these two players, and he understands how important it really is that they need to get back to their scoring ways in order for Milan to have a positive second half of the season. So Montela's gonna work pretty close with them. He's gonna work close with Baka and Yang, hopefully to improve their mindset, because Baka has missed a lot of chances recently. He hasn't been scoring in a very long time. We saw against Juventus, he just couldn't even finish those sitters. So really, I think that Baka will improve in the second half. He's gonna have a better second half to the first half that he had so far this season. So yes, there could be a possibility that Baka will once again get the nod in the starting lineup, especially against Cagliari. Erdan says, Gio, any idea on how Akeem Mastor is doing as Wole? I don't think he's getting much playing time, to be honest. I've read something, or actually I mentioned something a few weeks ago, saying that he's been playing a lot in their reserve league, and he's been getting a goal or two, but not really much playing time for him, from what I've seen. But yes, he's not really playing with the first team, from what I remember. I can double check that for you if you want. But from what I remember, he's not really getting that playing time that he was hoping for. And to be honest with you guys, I know many of you probably wouldn't want to hear this, but I don't see him getting that future that many people were thinking of at Milan. Unfortunately, he's one of those players that many people were thinking he was going to be the next big thing. But when you got players of his age already playing at Milan, like Locatelli getting a starting position almost every week now, and then you got a guy like Mastor at his age that is still playing on loan in a random team, for in the Netherlands, I believe. There's something that you gotta consider there. Something that, in terms of value, is going downwards rather than upwards. So really, I don't see a future for him at Milan. I know, as much as I would like to be the opposite of this, I just don't see Mastor really getting that chance, that opportunity at Milan for some reason. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm checking this out for you guys as we speak. He hasn't been getting much playing time at all. He has been playing in the reserve league of the Eredivisie. He scored 1 goal and 1 assist in 5 appearances. But like I said, there are players in Italy at his age that are playing on a consistent basis, and then you got him playing in the Netherlands, on loan to a random team. So we'll see what happens. Moving on, Gio Pizzetti says, hey, a guy with my same name, alright. Niang is not playing well at the moment because that tranny said he is more of a woman than she is. She got to his head, literally and figuratively. Moving on, Jamie says Mastor is overrated. I like him, but not as good as people make him. And that is exactly what I'm trying to say, He's a very good player, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he is. But he's not really the player that Milan is going after right now. He's not a player that is getting any opportunity. Even when he was at Milan, they were sending him out on loan. Then you got players like Locatelli, Calabria. Even Calabria, a guy that's been injured, is getting more playing time in Milan, So we'll see what happens with him. But at the moment, I don't want to hype him like many people have done in the past. Finally, I'm gonna maybe answer 1 or 2 more questions before I sign off. Martin Villa says Calabria has been recovered from his injury. Yes, he has, and I'm really happy about this one because I always valued the Calabria very highly. He's a player that's capable of creating competition to the already established fullbacks at Milan, like Abate there on the right side, and even when De Sciglio plays on the right side sometimes, when Antonelli takes over on the left, he's a player that could create competition to these players. He's very reliable. I like him as a player. For the few games that he played last season at Milan, I really like what he's capable of, and I think that he can only grow even more. Annika says, do I live close to IFTV? No, I don't. I don't really think their channel's becoming worse. I think they're really creating a lot of good things for Serie A fans. I like what they're making. At the same time, we're focusing just on certain aspects of Milan. We're focusing on the main news, and sometimes experimenting is good. It's good for channels, but at the same time, you really gotta focus on what you want to do. and not create overload sometimes. You gotta focus on really what's working for you. But it's good, you know, their channel is still new, and I like that they're experimenting on new things. They want to see really what works well for their channel, but it is a good channel. Moving on, Geek 101 says, to be honest, a lot of our current squad isn't at the Milan level, but hey, at least he's not Bonito Zaccardo. We've gotten better gradually since 2014. And finally, I'm gonna answer one more question. Jimmy says, Panama Central America loves AC Milan. Gio, do you know why in America we can't have Rai TV? Well, personally, I do get Rai Italia, but this is not the Rai that comes from Italy. This is a separate channel, and they do showcase Serie A, but at the same time, I'm really not happy with their quality. They still have the standard definition in 2017, which is absolutely ridiculous for them not to have an HD channel. But at the same time, you know, yes, I'm pretty sure that Rai Italia does deliver to a certain Central American countries. This is not the channel from Europe, however, not the channel from Italy. This is a separate channel that still showcase Italian content, but it's not really the same channel that they showcase in Italy there. Rhett Butler says, Joe, you should post a link of your channel on R&B forums. I think I've done that in the past already, but they're not crazy about me advertising my stuff. So if you guys want to go ahead and you're already on the forums and want to advertise my channel there, by all means, go for it. I'll really appreciate it. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you all so much for joining me with another AC Milan news live stream. If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan on a daily basis. We post daily videos to keep you guys updated right about this these options really that we have, considering news, rumors, what we could really go for in this January Mercato. Everything will be covered here on the channel, so if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Also, please click on the like button if you haven't yet. We always appreciate when you guys like our videos. And on that note, I will be signing off now. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan!